ESPR Boxing. I'm delighted to be joined as always by Paul Kelly. That means only one thing. We are back. We are in preview mode and we're in, I suppose, 5 versus 5 preview mode here, aren't we, Paul? Obviously, a really exciting card that's taking place in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia this Saturday. And we are looking to review one fight and one fight only here. And that's I suppose it's a featherweight fight, Paul, isn't it? The featherweight fight that's taking place, the WBA world title between your man, Nick Ball, and Ray Ford. Now, not much needs to be said really about both fighters. Obviously, they're both well known. Nick Ball's obviously had a roaring trajectory over the last sort of couple of years, 19-0 with one draw. And he's fighting obviously Raymond Ford 15-0 with one draw on the record as well. So, Paul, cracking fight this one. I know you're looking forward to it, as am I. And let's just dive straight into this. And I'll ask you a challenging question, Paul. And that question is this: to your mind, Paul, is Ray Ford the best featherweight in the world? So obviously you've got Espinoza as a champion there. You've obviously got Luis Alberto Lopez, Vargas, Figueroa down there as well. But for you, where does Ray Ford rank, please?
Yeah, thanks for that eloquent introduction. It's an interesting one for me. I feel like you and I have talked about our featherweight rankings to death over the past year or so. Just kind of centering around different fighters, but just kind of suppose means it's such an exciting division. I think you can put it down to that. I to answer the question, I don't believe, in my opinion, that Ray Ford is the best featherweight on the planet. I'm not saying I don't think Nick Ball is. Maybe at this moment in time either. I think that mantle, in my opinion, belongs to Luis Alberto Lopez. Just and you and I, we're going to start up we're going to start up a Luis Alberto Lopez fan club over in these shores, aren't we? He's fantastic. Honestly, he's a brilliant fighter. I think he's really unorthodox, difficult to predict what he's going to do. So that in his unorthodox nature and just the way he fights, it's just exciting. So you obviously got to add that and the skill to go with the excitement. You've got to have Brandon Figueroa up there for the body of work, despite not holding a full belt. You've got to put him right up there. As you mentioned, Espinoza, kind of an unknown until he beat Rubisi Ramirez. Ray Vargas, who obviously Nick Ball fought last time out, still holds the belt, despite 99% of people thinking Nick Ball did enough to become world champion. They're even Rubisi Ramirez. You've still got to, Lee Wood hasn't officially moved up to super feather, has he? So I know he does no longer holds the belt, but he officially hasn't moved up. And we're still awaiting news on that potential Josh Warrington rematch. But yeah, that's suppose I'm answering it long winded kind of there, mate, and going through each one. But no, to my mind, Ray Ford isn't the best. What about yourself?
You know what? People like to look at these videos, they like to see Discord, but they are not going to find it here, Paul, because I actually agree with you. I think Alberto Lopez is also the best featherweight currently. And I think you look at, like you say, you look at excitement, you look at, I suppose, also the people that he's fought recently and obviously going away and winning in against two very challenging opponents recently as well last time out. And I think you've also got to look at, for me, I mean, yeah, I think Nick Ball's unlucky. Obviously, what happened with the draw last time out, a lot of people had him winning that fight, didn't they? I think I agree with you. I know you're a fan of Figueroa, and I agree with you. He's worth a mention as well. And there's Kolmatov kicking around as well. Obviously, he needs, I suppose, a big fight really to sort of announce himself as well. So for me, I also think, Luis Alberto Lopez is the preeminent featherweight in the world currently. But let's talk about world champions, Paul. I'm going to ask you a question about Nick Ball here, and that is, do you, to your mind, obviously had that draw last time out against Vargas, but do you, to your mind, think that Nick Ball's got what it takes? Do you think he'll ever become a world champion? I know you're a big fan of his. Do you see him becoming a world champion? And if the answer is yes, Paul, I just want you to give me just a rough timeline. Do you see that being the next year, maybe the next year and a half, next 2 years? How do you see that go?
Yeah, way to put me on the spot, mate. Cheers for that one. As you've mentioned at the top of the video as well, massive Nick Ball fan, been have had a dialect with him and conversations with him since before anyone knew who he was back in the small hall Liverpool show days. And I think it's a matter of time before Nick Ball becomes world champion. Whether or not it's this weekend, we'll come on to, I'm sure, at the end in our quick predictions that we always like to give in these previews. But I think it's a matter of time. Just if not this weekend, I could see him coming again. Let's be honest, that Ray Vargas one, if he ever got a rematch there, and don't know if he would, I'd back him all day to win that fight. Again, if Ray Ford wins this against Nick Ball and then moves up, Ray Ford said he was never gonna fight at featherweight again after the Kolmatov victory. So whether he's just staying about to here for the Saudi payday and then is going to move up and this belt becomes fragmented and vacant, who knows? Any of the other ones, yeah, I mean it's a tough ask beating the likes of Luis Alberto Lopez or Brandon Figueroa for my mind in the next year or so. But yeah, if Nick put it this way, if Nick Ball is not world champion in the next 18 months, I'll be stunned.
Yeah, you definitely sidetracked I suppose what would have been a giveaway for your prediction then in that fight. And I actually agree with you. Like Nick Ball obviously came onto our, or to my mind anyway, to your mind, you knew about him longer than I did, with that victory over Isaac Lowe. And I think he's obviously grown and grown and grown since then. You look at if the victory over Dogbo's a world level fighter, I think still beat him there, obviously. And I think, to my mind, I agree with you as well. I think he beat Ray Vargas last time out, and Vargas is a hell of a fighter. So for me, I'd be very, very surprised if Nick Ball didn't ever become world champion. But equally, I think I'd struggle to put him in against Lopez currently. And I think also Figueroa, I think, he might need a kind of not a generous matchup, but maybe not away from one of those two guys in the next sort of 18 months potentially to come through. But equally, having said that, if he fights Luis Alberto Lopez, for me, it's a shootout of who lands first in some ways. Nick Paul can come crushing and he could catch Lopez and vice versa. So yeah, I definitely think he's definitely world champion material. Very exciting fighter. Paul, you mentioned it there. Obviously, Saturday night is for the belt, obviously for the WBA World Featherweight title. Ray Ford versus Nick Ball. Paul, I'm going to have to come to you here and I have to say, look, I'm not going to do the chivalrous thing and go first. I'm going to put them right back on you here, Paul, and say who wins, Paul, how, and why.
Oh, I'm torn here, mate. I really, really am. Like, when the fight was first announced, it's one of them where no matter what, my heart will say Nick Ball wins this. Don't know how, but he does. But the head is telling me that Ray Ford wins it. I didn't expect Ray Ford to beat Kolmatov last time out. He somewhat surprised me with that performance. It clearly carries power late on. Not saying that he would stop Nick Ball. I actually think this fight's destined to go 12, to be honest. Even though, Nick Ball is kind of known as a bit of a puncher, I suppose. And Ray Ford coming in off that knockout, I think it's definitely going 12. So that's the first part of my prediction. I feel like it's going the full 36 minutes. Oh, who gets their hand raised? You know what? Nah, stuff it, mate. I'm not going against them. I can't do it to myself. If I backed Ray Ford to win, in this video, and then Nick Ball went on to do it, I would look like a mug. So I'm not doing that. I'm sticking with my boy Nick Ball. Nick Ball is becoming world champion, deservedly so. After getting robbed first time around, he's winning it second time around. He's going to win on points. Ray Ford's going to struggle with the weight, and I think might look a little drained. And despite Nick Ball maybe having a slow enough start, I think he'll come on strong, just like he did in the Vargas fight, and I think he'll get the nod on the judges' scorecards, mate. Boom. What about you?
Go on, Paulie. I was just having a sit back, man. I was almost like I was watching that video myself, just watching it, taking it in. I love that. I think I agree with you. I actually think this is going to go 12 rounds. I do believe that. My heart wants Nick Ball to win this. My head, like you, is really, really torn, really, really conflicted. I I can see. To be honest with you, Paul, I don't like to predict a draw. I'm not going to predict a draw. I think someone will win this fight, but I'm actually struggling to call it. I actually going to lean slightly towards Ray Ford, but to be honest, it's like a 51-49. If Nick Ball wins on points, I'm not at all surprised either. It's razor close to my mind. I think actually Nick Ball would deserve it as well. I'm not necessarily sure. We've seen actually the Saudi cards have actually been judged very well, despite people have complaining here and there. But I actually don't see any sort of judging anomaly or robbery here either. So I think it will be scored fairly, and for me that makes it razor tight. I can't see where the money's going. I don't know. I don't know who to call. I'm going to say Ray Ford, just Paul, to give us maybe a bit of differentiation, and what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to appeal out to everyone who's watching now to put it in the comments really whether they agree with you, whether they agree with me really, who they think is going to win, also whether they think Nick Ball will ever become world champion, maybe how they see Ray Ford progressing over the next year, whether they'll see him moving up, whether he can capture a belt there as well. And also just let us know, what their predictions are, who they think is going to win and how. But Paul, thank you very much for joining me as always. Guys, check out the channel. So we've got other previews from the 5 versus 5. We've got interviews with fighters on the cards, and we'll have obviously reviews coming on Saturday night as well. So check those out. Thank you very much for watching. And as always, Paul, thank you very much for joining me.
Cheers, guys, for watching. Thanks, mate.